Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Brett McCollum, and I'm here today with Kirsten Banks. And today we're going to be talking about transaction rescue. What does that even mean? About to find out. Before we do, guys, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs to 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted and live the lives they've always dreamed of. Without further ado, Kirsten, how are you?
I am incredible. It's the crack of most people's dawn over here, so up with the birds.
There you go. Yeah, I'm East Coast time. You're over there you're in Arizona, right?
In Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, so we can't call it Mountain Time. We have to call it Arizona time, don't we?
We do. We don't change, which
That's
really
right.
people up.
Kirsten, I wish we would all just get on board with that. Just stop changing it. Let's just all have one time and let's go,
Yeah, well, they passed the law like years ago, but they never implement it.
Yeah, it's weird. But all right, before we get started on everything, let's kind of back up a little bit, give some history, some background. Yep. Who's Kirsten? Catch us up to speed a little bit.
Yeah. So as a child, I thought I was going to be a dancer. Literally thought I was going to be a dancer. I danced my entire life. And my parents told me that wasn't practical, and then I needed to be a big girl and go get a big girl job. And so at the ripe young age of 18, I left the cuckoo's nest and went from Palm Springs, California, where I grew up and graduated. I moved to Seattle and found my way into like short-term finance, aka predatory like payday loans and things like that. It's kind of where I got my kick. And then I somehow landed in escrow. It started in lending. I was working like on the back end warehouse line when you refinance or you do a purchase money loan with a mortgage broker. The warehouse line is like a whole other team behind it that has to ready the package and then be able to get it approved to send off to Fannie Mae or Sallie Mae. And so I was doing that and forming relationships with title and escrow because that's where I was doing a lot of the back end work. And I thought, this is pretty interesting because I was doing a lot of the funding side of that warehouse packaging. I decided to take a position with Stewart Title as a funder way back in the early 2000s. And that's really where my career began. I started out in funding and they had this big streamlined process that they thought that they were going to be able to be super efficient, go super high volume. Everybody's dream in escrows to, have a lot of volume, right? And it didn't work out. It kind of got mucked up because, well, I don't know if you were around in 2007, but the market kind of took a turn for the worse. And we found ourselves in the middle of a big fat crash. So my company actually shut down completely. My operation in Washington shut down, and I took a little break and did some bartending and some office management work. And that was a really fun life experience. I think
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I hold it very fondly. There's a lot of ick in it and a lot of rough life in bartending in nightclubs. But it certainly teaches you how to manage volume, stress, talk to people, sell people, and it really starts to build a sales skill. And that was my big takeaway from it. And then when the market came back in 2009, my team that I had, previously worked with, we all maneuvered our way over to Fidelity, and we kind of just picked up where we left off. And I began my little over 10-year journey with Fidelity from there. A couple of those years in Washington, and then myself and my husband at the time relocated to Arizona. And that was a really interesting story, actually. I was at our annual continuing education that was required. And the people that were putting that on, the head educators, had overheard me talking in a small group about how I wanted to move to Arizona. I had just visited, my sister was here, and I wanted to be closer to family. And the girl, her name was Diana, she leans over and she's like, I'm from Arizona. I know the county manager there. Do you want an in? And I was like, well, yes. And she's like, give me your resume. And so I gave her my resume. And a week later, the now past Pat Baldwin gave me a call personally and said, hey, I heard you were looking to transfer to Arizona. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you've done so far. Went through a mini interview, and she was like, great. Can you be here in 30 days? And I was like, no. Okay. And so I uprooted my life and moved to Arizona and started in an investor office. And at that time, so that's 2010, maybe early 2010, no, late 2010. There was a lot of investors, real estate wholesalers were still going to the steps at the auctions. And I was working at an office where we were kind of the liaison, and we were pulling mini reports and running comps and things for these investors here in Arizona that were at the steps. Hey, what's on title on this one? What's on this one? Can we make this bid work? And then we were doing all of the paperwork for that. So that was my first investor experience. And I think in hindsight, I didn't understand really how the investor side of things worked until much later in the story. But from there, I actually got transferred from that office to a boutique office with an escrow officer who was doing kind of a mix of two different businesses. We were still in the short sale hype. So I was coming in to fill in somebody's maternity leave. And the way that office had worked was the escrow officer was taking everything over 500,000 upwards of, we did $100 million transaction. I did some big hitting luxury transactions. And her escrow assistant we were doing all of Brett Tanner's short sales. So I was closing for Brett Tanner as his dedicated escrow officer, filling in for her. And then they decided to keep me in that position. And when the other gal came back from maternity leave, she went in a different route within the company. And then I got pregnant, and I had my beautiful daughter that is now 11. And when I came back from maternity leave, I was working. I had been promoted to an escrow officer, but didn't have a book of business yet. And it's a really big process to build a book of business from inside, right? Because you're selling from behind a desk instead of in front of a desk, but you're partnered with a sales rep or a title rep, that's out in the community and getting new clients and things of that nature. So it takes some time to build an actual desk. And one day, I'll never forget it, our sales manager came in and said,
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
we have this big meeting. They would like to meet with you. They had heard about your work in the community, not me, my
Okay.
my escrow officer, my manager, and these three boys, and they were boys at the time, walked into the office and they sat down and they started pitching their idea. And I was listening from my office, and I knew that it wasn't going to be what she wanted to do. And it was three guys, and they were pitching this idea that they were going to be an iBuyer in the space, and that they were going to change and revolutionize the way that real estate transactions played out. And they left, and there were some chuckles. And I stepped into that office and I interjected myself and I said, "Give it to me. I'll take it."
Yeah.
And that
Oh,
company happened to be Open Door. And so the original team of Open Door and myself began a relationship. And we created a process together from their side to my side to bridge the gap between title and escrow. Created, some systems and processes for them, and away I went. We closed our first two deals in December of 2014. And in January of 2015, we jumped from two transactions to 30. And in February, I think I had close to 75 transactions. And I was doing it all by myself, no assistant. And I was still assisting for my branch manager. And at that point, we kind of had to change the process a little bit. We broke up acquisitions and dispositions, moved back to that original office that I was in, and the rest is really history. So I was essentially their first escrow officer. Not essentially, I was. And then I moved over when they took the relationship to their JV, and where they currently are. I moved over into that company, and then COVID hit, and they had to make some tough choices, and I was one of those tough choices. And they bonded me with a national platform. So I became the national sales director, not national sales director, excuse me, the national closing director for a remote team through a company called Solidify. And there I was responsible for building out a remote team because we were in the COVID crisis. Can we say that word? We they didn't know they were a brick and mortar, and they were trying to go remote, so that they could expand and capture a larger sales force for processing, because they were so high volume. We were
yeah.
averaging 13 to 15,000 transactions a month, all strictly refinance. And it was just absolute chaos and madness. And I did that for a while, and decided I didn't want to be in corporate America anymore. Was burnt out. And so I exited the company and decided that I was going to do life insurance. Did it for a little bit. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And I started looking around in the Valley at what was going on in the real estate market in 23. And I stumbled upon a company, a real estate team. They were looking for a dispositions manager. And I was like, what do I have to lose? I haven't done it, but I've kind of done it. And so here we are. Through that process, we had an in-house TC. I was strictly doing dispositions, mostly novations, and a little bit of wholesaling, but really we're a buy and hold company. And I, when the TC left, we had to make a decision if we were going to use TC externally, or if we were going to bring it in-house and I was going to be the only one that could really take it over with my experience.
Yeah.
We did do a round of interviews, and it just, nothing really panned out the way we needed it to. It's pretty extensive niche that we do.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And so we did the outsourcing for a short time. And I just found that I was still managing the process, and I was doing a lot of the heavy lifting for things that the service didn't cover. And those were the really time consuming pieces. And so from that, an idea was born to fill the gap. And so I created this company, Transaction Rescue, really as a rescue company to do three things. Rescue transactions that were falling apart for contractual issues, seller issues, and really come in there as like a backup or with a creative solution to get the transaction through the finish line. Rescue the transaction to bridge the gap between a wholesaler or an investor and an outside TC service, or maybe an inside TC service that just didn't have the complete expertise to get it through. And then the last piece of it to come into play was actually, well, why don't I just do the full TC scope, but do it the way that I would do it if it were my own file, and really truly take it from A to Z, no a la carte, no gaps, nothing, make sure that transaction gets closed. And so that's what I did. And it's worked out very successfully. I'm very new. I'm 6 months into the picture here. Brand is building slowly, but yeah, it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah. Wow. Let's a lot to unpack, but let's do this. So you get kicked out of the bird's nest, if you will. You're in Seattle. You're in Seattle, is that right?
Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. How long were you there before? In total, like
13 years.
13 years. Okay. And then eventually you make your way to Arizona.
Yep.
All along the way, different forms of between title and lending and then title, right?
Yeah.
/ escrow. You've been building up to this for your whole career. When you rewind it.
When you rewind it and look at it, yeah, I absolutely have.
Well, that being said, I guess the big question I have is, have you looked back and thought about it like that? Because I can tell you some of my stuff if you want, but like all the things that I've done professionally has led me exactly where I am, and they actually really mesh together. Have you ever thought about that before, or was it just like, oh yeah, that wasn't random, was it?
No, it wasn't random. It was actually very calculated, and I fought it for a really long time. I really wanted to do something in the fitness space. And I have like a big goal, and I'll get there someday, right? I'm pretty goal driven. But I thought I was fighting the real estate for so long. And once I stopped fighting, that was where I belong. This is where I need to be. Everything kind of just started to fall into the place that it needed to be. And the imposter syndrome went away. The doubt went away. I'm making a fool out of myself. All of that has really gone away because I just feel so uncomfortably comfortable here that anything else now seems like wildly fearful.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, when we're when you're talking about like accepting that. I grew up, you were going to be a dancer. I was going to be a baseball player. I was going to be a baseball player, and I played through college.
Uh-huh.
I thought I was doing it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And then it didn't. And so what am I going to do now with my life? Like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I'm like, it's post-college. Like, who am I going to, like, what am I supposed to do? This was the plan, from the time I was 4, like nobody told. That's the thing, is like when you make it that far and then you start playing, like, nobody told you can't do it.
Yeah.
And then I just got told I can't do it. It's like,
yeah.
But for me, it's like, I didn't get into real estate because it's like, I've always wanted to be in real estate. No, that was I got in on an accident. Actually, it was like, oh, what is this? Kind of thing. And then even then it was never meant to be anything. But when I look back and rewind and I just open, like, I see and I accepted this is what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
Then actually, it's funny, it's that acceptance. Then I started having joy in my work and joy in my life, joy. And it's like, because I was fighting for so long. And sometimes the acceptance isn't like it's not accepting for settling's sake. It's accepting for like, I am good at something. This is what I am good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then once that happens, like, there's a lot more peace. There's everything else comes along with it. It was incredible when that finally happened.
Yeah. There's a saying, and that's the saying that came through with this was, I'm going to muck it up here. Stroke brain. I had a stroke, a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, very minor, but, still there's some residual fogging, but let me see if I can get this out. Do what you're good at until what you're good at becomes your passion. And I think it preludes with like, don't chase your passion until you're good at your passion. Do what you're good at until what you're good at becomes your passion. I think that's how it goes. And that's really, that's what I had to embrace. That's what I had to accept. And just say, you know what, this is what I'm really good at. And my brain capacity understands and can dissect. And just, I'm known as a bulldog. I'm very blunt. I'm just going to get it done. And I don't take a lot of excuses. And I think that's what's made me very successful. And I do have a sharp tongue, and I have a sharp finger when I need to write an email that's going to get it done. And I think that's, if I were to ask people what they appreciate about me, it's probably that.
Yeah. Well, let me pause for a second. For that having happened, I would never have known. So good on you for that.
Yep.
I've walked through some of that with some family. We talked about that a little bit, pre-show. I know that's a difficult journey, but you're doing. It appears to be, from the outside looking in, you're crushing. So
we're accommodating. We're adjusting.
There you go. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more like transaction rescue. Okay.
Sure.
Like, high level it for me. You know. I understand the idea of TC and all that stuff, but for the everyday investor that maybe just is used to doing their own stuff, I'm going to ask the bold, blunt question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Why do I need you?
I think the bottom line, and then the thing that I preach most often, is that as a wholesaler and investor, you are in sales and marketing. That's actually your game. And it's your expertise. And for every minute that you spend pushing around paper and making sure the deal gets to the closing line, you are taking away from your actual business model and goal, which is to lock up more deals and essentially make money or help people solve real estate pain problems. It's kind of like the stay in your lane. We always talk about pick your lane and stay in your lane. Those are two different lanes in a transaction. And I think that a lot of people in this industry, they've either seen a guru or they've seen a mentor, have a big lifestyle, and they're like, oh, I could do that. And a lot of the coaching in the niche is about the sales and the marketing. Everybody's talking about acquisitions and dispositions and find the seller and find the buyer. And these people are just like, oh, I can do that. It's a skill set. It's a sales skill set. It has nothing to do with an actual real estate transaction. The actual meat and bones of the transaction. And so outsourcing that to somebody who has a high level understanding of it or has done it or just strictly alleviates that thing will allow your sales process to get unbottlenecked, right? Every time you wholesale a deal, we'll just take a wholesale deal, right? Like you find a seller, you find a buyer, it closes, you're unemployed. And if you do each bucket of that, you're prolonging your unemployment rate every time you have to go find a new seller because now you haven't been able to efficiently manage the process from the sales process. Like you need to be hitting KPIs, you need to be hitting dials, you need to be hitting talk time if you're going to have a lasting, successful operation or scale a team or go anywhere from there. And so why would you bottleneck yourself at the most difficult part of a transaction, which is in fact to get it closed, to clear title issues, to rally sellers and buyers, to get them to deposit money, sign funds or sign closing docs, and then everybody gets paid, right? Like a contract is a contract. A buyer and an assignment is also just a contract. Until it gets closed, you don't actually have a transaction.
Yep.
And that's why I think TC it's so underrated. It's so under talked about and it's really so undervalued, but it is just as important as the acquisition and the disposition, but it's a lane and not everybody belongs in that lane. And
Yeah.
that's
So
where I come in.
tell me a couple like normal, I wouldn't say every day, but like some fairly common things that you see come up on, like, let's stick with a wholesale lane for now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You have a buyer and a seller, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Fair enough. You have a seller
Right.
and then your end buyer. What are some common things that you see come up in your deals that you work on?
Yeah. Honestly, the most common thing I will have to say is actual vesting issues, ownership issues, who actually owns the property. A lot of the clients that I work with, and even a lot of the transactions that I do as, in my dispositions role, because I still do that on top of this. I do two. Well, actually, I wear like 17 hats, but we'll stick with the two, right? A lot of it is in the like Sunshine Belt and kind of not the East Coast, but just before you hit the Midwest. And for whatever reason, there is a general lack of understanding of how to effectively transfer title. And you have a lot of people doing quick claim deeds and breaking chains of title and just absolutely mucking up transactions. And then when they go to sell it, they can't because nobody's going to insure the transaction because they, a brother of a sister of somebody who died quick claimed it 16 times, or they didn't want to do a probate because they didn't have the funds or the know-how to do it. And they tried to do some shady deed underneath it. And it just, every transaction comes to a screeching halt. So I would say that's definitely number one. It's a constant flow. No two transactions are alike, but I swear, I think I had 6 different vesting issue transactions in the month of March, and only one of them closed. We're still working on them, but I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. I mean, these transactions are falling apart, but these are why in a wholesale deal, these are typically, that's the avatar, right? You're looking, it's distressed sellers, and they are either distressed because they have a distressed situation or they have a distressed title, and they don't know real estate agent. They can't go through a regular retail transaction because nobody's going to fix it for them, and or they can't afford to fix it. But then that's where, the value of real estate investors, I think we just have such a special place in the ecosystem of real estate. We are absolutely needed in this space, and I hope that we never become obsolete as real estate investors, because there are multiple ways to get it done, and retail isn't always the answer.
Right. No, I love that. Yeah, I've been on that side of it. I had a grandfather quit claims it to granddaughter, but then the grandfather had Alzheimer's, and so he's in a facility, and so when title learns about that, they were like, "Oh, we don't want to touch it," because of the risk association. And then we're like, but then underwriting says, "Yeah, we'll do it, but we need 2 doctor's notes from 2 different doctors from 2 different times. It's just like, y'all, like, how are we supposed to going back a year when this quitclaim was done? I'm like, how are we supposed to do that? Like, that's not my problem.
Yep.
It's stuff that's a recent one, right?
Yeah.
And it's just these things come up, these things happen, and
they certainly do.
how do you get through them?
Yeah. Yep. And it's how do you get through them? And where a normal investor or somebody who came into this game, a young 22-year-old, kid who's just getting started is like, oh, that's a cancel. And it's like, no, wait a minute, you don't have to cancel that. But that's what they think, because they can't see their way through that. They don't know that they can, take XY step and I can sit there and break it apart and analyze it and start picking up the phone. But also that's time consuming. And so the amount of manpower and hours that takes, now their entire business has come to a screeching halt just so that they can get one transaction. So that's where the evaluation is this $10,000 or this $20,000 worth me stopping my business for? Well, yeah, because call a TC or call a rescue and let me take that, and you just keep locking up more deals. And by the time I get this one done, your next one's assigned and ready to go. And now you've got a system.
Yeah, I love that. That's very cool. And I agree. There's a space for it in today's market, for sure. Especially now there's a lot. I mean, you've probably heard of the silver tsunami, the whole coining phrase with, probate, it's going to be, I mean, it's basically, it's our parents' generation it's just, it's dying off. Yeah. And there's going to be, I think it's something like 33% of all real estate transactions are going to require probate. That's
correct. It's going to be a real problem. And what's even the real problem isn't that that generation, which is my parents' generation, is going to require probate. What I'm seeing happen, and this is what I'm already seeing as the tip of the iceberg, is it's those 60, 70-year-olds that are starting to die that are selling it off, it's the acquisition when, is in the 50s or the 40s when they were able to first own real estate and everything was done via a quitclaim deed and they didn't probate that transaction. And now you're dealing with affidavit of heirships or small estates, but I've got some ones that are going to puzzle your brain right now.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And I mean, and it's coming soon. They're talking like by 2035, we're 10 years off of it. It's not like it's down the road. No, it's here. It's
here. Yeah. It's here. Yeah. I agree.
Very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I know we could do this back and forth for a very long time, and I don't want to respect your time. You got a lot to get after. But if people want to reach out to you and connect with you in some way, what's the best way for that to happen?
Socials. I'm available on Instagram. I have, my little link there that you can book a free one-on-one. We'll do a free discovery call and then just see how I can help you. I'm really focused on the rescues right now. I am one person and am not intending to scale, to my goal and my vision with this company is not to scale it to a massive transaction TC company. That is not the vision that I have for this. I'm pivoting a vision towards really being able to teach other TCs how to duplicate myself. And I think that that's where my kind of alignment is. But I love the rescue part of it. I love to help people figure it out and take that piece of it. But we'll talk on a one-on-one and see how we can work together and if it makes sense to work together. And the best way to do that right now is through Instagram. My website is just about finished or almost there. And then we'll launch that. And then obviously it'll be at www.transactionrescue.com.
Love that. Okay. I'm excited for you, Kirsten. You're on an incredible journey. It's a great story. I love where you're going, what you're doing. And guys, we'll have it in the show notes. Just make sure you look up Kirsten and connect with her in that way.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today. I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.